Okay, so what are we doing here today?
Well, one of the really kind of exciting things that has happened as a result of me acquiring an A3 Epson scanner is that I suddenly have access to all these shoots that I've done. You know, this is a shoot with Run DMC from 1998, and they never returned the contacts. It was shot for Bob Guccione, who started Penthouse. He was like a sort of porno impresario, and he basically wanted to kind of respond to the lads mags like Loaded and everything, and he created this magazine called Gear, and I got commissioned to photograph Run DMC, and I never got the contacts back. But the great thing is, with this scanner, I can just lay the negatives on, I put a piece of glass on top of them, and hey presto, I can see what I shot all those years
So
ago.
you haven't actually seen the results
Yeah.
of this print of these contacts.
So these pictures of Run DMC, they ran with the black and white shot, the famous shot.
Yeah, we'll put it up.
Yeah, the color stuff, I got them. You know, I never got the contacts back. I can't remember even taking any color. So let's scan
Yep,
these.
let's do it following you.
Yeah, okay.
So walk us through it. What do you do next?
Laptop.
So you turned it off and on.
Yeah, the sort of a good piece of advice with regard to all computer stuff, which you can probably adhere to, Fred, because you're a software. You know, that's your realm of expertise. Is that try switching it off and on.
That was our job.
Yeah,
Turning stuff off and on.
and now it's sort of like probably waiting.
So it does an initial scan.
Was that your job, just switching things on?
No.
And off? We get the IT department to switch it on and off.
Yeah, that's it. We get support to do that.
Okay. So it's probably running through its sort of checklist of things to do.
Cool. I'll speed this footage up until we get some results.
Mm.
Or maybe we could, once it starts scanning, we can talk about what it was like. So we have your Run DMC images, never before seen in the scanner. So we'll have those in a couple of minutes.
We can sort of hear the slight buzz of the scanner
Hopefully
doing
we won't
its
be able
job.
to hear it if I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the shoot a little bit. So it's in London. The famous picture, the main one, probably your favorite from the shoot.
Yeah.
Tell us about that one. I remember it looks as if one of them's shocked by someone walking by. Or
Yeah, I think there was an attractive woman on the other side of the street,
Okay.
and I wasn't really paying attention to what they were paying attention to. I was watching them, watching the woman. It's a bit like the Radiohead, you know, I was watching them photographing themselves. And the whole series are quite good. That whole contact sheet has a lot of genuine moments. And that picture, I like it because alongside it being sort of technically adept, because it's shot on Hasselblad, you know, and the light's sort of nice and kind of punchy, and it works well. It's got a sort of atmosphere because it's just using available light. In addition to all the technical aspects, it's a genuine moment. I couldn't really direct them. They weren't really paying much attention to what I was. A bit like the Wu-Tang Clan, not as bad as the Wu-Tang Clan, but you know, rappers are sort of like they're in their own kind of, you know, they're in their own headspace, and being photographed, you know, is a sort of a thing that doesn't rate that high in their kind of understanding of what's important.
So you say it's already kind of technically adept just by the fact it was shot on a Hasselblad.
Yeah, I mean, if you
that.
use, I mean, I twigged this very early on. When I was at college, I realized that if you know, I was looking at David Bailey's pictures and more, you know, even more impressive Richard Avedon and Irving Penn. And I thought, well, you know, the quality, the sharpness and everything was kind of staggering. And I kind of realized that it was their technical brilliance, you know, and they were really on top of things and lighting and so on. I think it's just finished the scan. So we'll put another one in a minute. But basically, in addition to that, it's all about resolution. It's all about the size of the negative. And a medium format negative has more information, and therefore it's more impressive. There's more detail. That's what you're kind of paying for when you get a bigger sensor in a medium format digital camera. And so, you know, that it's nice if you can the bigger sensor or the bigger film size makes it more unwieldy and more difficult to get a picture. So when you manage to sort of marshal your troops and get the picture, and it's on that bigger format, it's a lovely coming together, because it's much easier. It'd be easier to take a picture like that with my phone, but it wouldn't be high resolution. Whereas the picture in the street is shot on a Hasselblad, at the time probably the best camera in the world, with a Carl Zeiss lens. Everything's really sharp, and it's a really good little moment.
Okay, so the technical difficulty comes from like just physical weight and
Yeah.
size. Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, the Hasselblad, it's not an autofocus camera.
Okay.
I'll get it, it's just there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's an awkward, muscular camera that kind of dictates the pictures that you get with it. So it's not
Hold
autofocus.
it higher a little bit.
So it's not autofocus, and you know, my kind of old eyes that are kind of, you know, I had a detached retina earlier this year. You know, they struggle. I'd struggle to focus with this now, especially in a stressful situation in low light. And so, you know, digital cameras with their autofocus lenses and highly evolved technology make a massive difference.
Gotcha. Let me just lean over and feel how heavy it is for the camera. Oh yes, it's definitely got some weight.
Yeah, it's a big bugger. Yeah, so this was the camera that took that picture.
Okay.
You know, and think about it, it's like 30 years ago.
The amount of people who've probably been in front of that camera.
Yeah, quite a few. You know, a lot of my cameras I've actually sold, the film cameras, because I'm acutely aware that we won't be able to get film or be able to process it if we can get it. And so I'm going to end up with a very expensive sort of paperweight. But I can't really bear to get rid of this one because it's sort of served me so well.
Sentimental value.
Indeed.
Okay, so back to the shoot. You started on the wall. Is that where you started?
Yeah, I don't know whether we did the shots inside first or we did the shots outside first. I think it was getting dark, so I think I took them outside first. And that's why I can remember that shoot more vividly, because that was sort of, the other shots were kind of an afterthought. You know, I thought, well, I've got my Colorama, I brought my backdrop and my lighting and everything. I might as well get two different sets of pictures. I mean, it's basically the case that you want to keep taking pictures until they tell you to go away. Yeah. You know, there's no prizes for being a nice guy. You know, you really kind of have to kind of push it. And then, as I said, I'm sure I've said it to you before, you know, on the next shoot, they forget that you were kind of a bit...
All they remember is the good pictures.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. So what were they like? I imagine they're quite fun. You didn't say, they said they were slightly different.
Yeah, I mean, it is 30 years ago, but they were kind of unruly. Had they done that single walk this way, I think they probably had, you know, with Aerosmith. So they were kind of huge. They had their Adidas and they had their...
Yeah, a couple of them are wearing Adidas in the pictures.
Yeah, they have that uniform, don't they? And, you know, sadly, I think one of them died, has died in intervening years. And they have become iconic.
You mentioned earlier in the video that there was another photographer there when you arrived. So they probably were doing photo shoots all day, I can imagine.
Absolutely. And a big part of what I do is differentiating yourself from the other people. And I can think of lots of examples. I mean, I remember photographing Goldie, and I arrived, and he practically threw the previous photographer out of the hotel room. And he had an argument with the journalist, and I sort of managed to sort of turn things around so well that, you know, he'd phone me every now and then, you know, and ask how I was, you know, like a year or so later, because he really liked the pictures. And but quite often, as I said, it's nerve-wracking when another photographer's there, because I think she sort of hung around for a bit and sort of just took her time, sort of packing up her equipment, sort of looking out of her peripheral vision to see what I was doing. I think that might have informed my decision to sort of take them outside and away from the scenario that she'd set up. I was kind of quite confident because I think she was shooting on 35mm, and the lighting didn't seem terribly kind of well thought out. You know, it wasn't like I think when you're lighting with flash, you've got to have an opinion, and quite often it's better to use less lights and use them really, really well. And the lights seem to be pointing all different directions. So, you know, I wasn't kind of phased or anything.
Okay, so I was wondering if your pictures kind of turned out the same if you're both inside.
That's the danger.
Yeah.
So, you know, in fact, that's the thing about doing live stuff, is that really you're taking pictures that someone else has conceived, because a big part of live performance is the lighting. So you're just taking advantage of the lighting engineer who has created this sort of spectacular. And a lot of that is just exposing it correctly and getting it in focus. And modern cameras do take care of that for you.
So live as in like
on stage.
On stage, yeah.
Yeah.
And you often have like 10 photographers surrounding the stage.
Absolutely.
Big shit, like.
When I started at the NME, it was expected that I would do live pictures. That was how you got to do the proper portraits. And so quite often, especially on my earlier shoots, you'd go to some location, you'd see the band live on the day that you'd arrive in San Francisco or whatever. And then the following day, they'd set aside some time and you'd do the portrait session. I was much more interested in doing the portrait session. I always felt that the live pictures were easy, really. It's just a question of filling the frame. And they really were kind of largely about the performance and what you happen to get on the day. You know, if the band were kind of deciding that they didn't want to be lit, then you're kind of going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, if they had a really kind of dark and melancholy kind of, or, you know, they were making some kind of atmospheric statement and there was all kind of smoke machines everywhere and you couldn't really focus on anything, that's going to be, you're in trouble. I mean, you can use flash and everything, but I don't think I remember they, quite often, it was, the mantra was, you know, first 3 songs, you're in the pit, you get the first 3 songs and no flash, because obviously the flash is going to put them off if they're performing.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, Dad, you've scanned 3 contact sheets.
Yep.
Okay, good.
So this would be the first time I've sort of seen them for about 30 years until, you know, last time was in my agency. And excitingly, I had no idea. I shot a roll of color against the wall. So image rotation.
So that famous one, the black and white one, you didn't realize you had that same image in color.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize I'd taken it in color. So it's very exciting. I mean, I'm gonna, I think the negatives were the wrong way, so I'm gonna need to flip them horizontal. And then look, if I double click there, you can look at those. I mean, they're not color corrected or anything. They look a bit sort of greeny.
So you'll color correct them and we'll put them up on screen for the audience.
I mean, these are cross-processed, but I was using EPT, which is a tungsten film, and it kind of is more of a subtle cross-process. So what I would quickly do is sort of click Apple, and then Apple L, which sort of has the levels, and then I click the middle one, which is and then I elect to have this as a gray, and then you can see, or maybe these are all black, so click around until that looks better. And you can see actually there's some interesting pictures here.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been through the whole
30 years ago.
30 years ago. Yeah.
Cool. And now what about the other 2 you scanned? So these ones are the classic picture on the wall, colorized.
Okay. And then this one is, let's just have a look. They're huge files. Here we go. Clockwise. And
These look like shot on a tungsten lens or a tungsten light or something. They look
yeah,
quite warm.
they look at, these 2 would look lit with flash.
Yeah.
It's coming back to me now because I remember I found they had these sort of reflectors on one of on the side arms, and I found them a bit annoying because they dominate the composition a little bit. But let's double click there and we can sort of see.
So that looks like, that's tungsten, right?
Yeah, this is tungsten.
It's very warm. And
You can see actually they are kind of
having a good time.
yeah, they're having a good time. Yeah, I mean, this is sort of really something you wouldn't really get to see. These are, and as I said, we option L, and then I'll sort of make this a grey or a neutral, and you can get,
Wow.
there'll be a bit more. This is something I can fiddle with. Actually, that looks good. But it's a question of just fiddling with it and getting the color right. But it's all very much open to interpretation. You can see these two here. For some reason, I've used flash. I'd probably use ring flash actually.
Yeah. You can maybe see it in his glasses.
Yeah. So I'll have to color correct these differently.
Okay.
They
look awesome. They look really, really cool.
And then the third one, I think
I'd have a print of any of them.
Yeah. Well, we can.
And you're ready?
Yeah. Consider it done. So this is the third one. We've still got
some headshots.
A couple more. I think the others are headshots.
So you've got headshots of
individuals. Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's exciting. These are new pictures, never been seen, never published. You know, there's so much waste when you think about it. You know, they only use one picture in the magazine, and then you have all this other stuff that 30 years later is a sort of treasure trove.
Wow. Well, we've got these ones and thousands more boxes to go through.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's quite overwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah, very overwhelming. So I think that's good. Thank you for sharing these with us, Dad, and thanks for watching. See you later.
Cheers.